What's good, everybody? This your boy Twice,
And it's your girl Tay.
and we got with us today Dr. Lativia Cabot. What we're
Hello.
gonna what we're gonna do real quick is we want everybody to go on and share this out if you live, and we gonna share it out. So we're gonna give y'all that 46-second intro that we do every week. We'll be right back.
I wonder if it's facts or feelings that you're feeling. I don't know if you know what's for real. Baby, just relax and chill. Let the tea spill. I bet the chemistry start to build. I wonder if it's facts or feelings that you're feeling. I don't know if you know what's for real. Baby, just relax and chill. Let the tea spill. I bet the chemistry start to build. I wonder if it's facts that you feeling. I love the fact you chillin'. These hours fly by when you and I is chillin'. These hours fly by, feel like a couple minutes. Seen you on my timeline. Hold up, wait a minute, Twice and Tay. Yeah, you know they always catching up. Keep us up to date, cause it's hard to keep up through the day.
What's up, everybody? We back, and again, this is Twice,
And it's your girl Tay.
and we got our guest. Gonna introduce yourself today, Miss Dr. Lativia.
That's right. Put some
Hello,
respect on it.
everybody.
All right.
I am Dr. Lativia Cabot, owner of a new youth counseling and consultant here in Jackson, Mississippi.
Good. Well, it's great to have you today. And for those who hadn't seen any flyers or anything on our social medias, on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, today we will be talking about stopping human trafficking. What's up, Tay?
That's right. You know, human trafficking is so prevalent right now, just in our country, but even more so within our area, especially right here in Mississippi, in the Metro Jackson area. I'm not going to get too deep into it because we got somebody that's very skilled and able to bring those facts and point out some things that we need to be aware of and they need to take into consideration when we're thinking about human trafficking.
Good deal. Good deal. We want to start out with a question, Tay.
Yeah, so Dr. Cabot,
Yes, ma'am.
just so that the people got a little bit more of your background, like tell us what makes you so gifted and skilled to talk about human trafficking.
Well, I have been working with human trafficking for a number of years. It started like in 2017. I actually did my dissertation on human trafficking at Mississippi College, but just working with the court system, working with the homelessness, just being in community service, period, has gave me a range of experience, not only with just my research, but working with individuals, with survivors and victims of human trafficking. And so when you see the people that's affected by it, you gain a passion because if you know me, my goal is to help everybody. If I can't help you, I'm not gonna hurt you. And
Right.
so just listening to their experience, trying to get resources that's unavailable, the main thing that come to your mind, how can I bring awareness to these individuals to prevent human trafficking, to educate people about human trafficking? Because believe it or not, some people think it doesn't exist or they don't know the trajectory of how important it is to educate self, to educate your children, the family, and the community itself. So just a drive for me just to be knowledgeable about it and be able to share my experiences and my education with the individuals to educate them.
Yeah, that's definitely huge. And my thing is, being that you have that expertise and that knowledge, I think it's very vital to have special guests like you to come on because you're able to give us firsthand knowledge of what human trafficking looks like in real time, opposed to just what the media puts out there. Because a lot of times people don't think because we're in Mississippi, you know, we really aren't prone to it because we're not in one of the bigger states. So they think the little cases that they hear about is just kind of, you know, few and in between. So I'm really excited to really dive into it. And I invited a lot of Jackson State moms and students to tap in as well. So they may be catching a replay. But can you tell us a little bit about like what it looks like for like college students. Do
Yes.
you like foresee them being like high risk for human
Of
trafficking?
course, of course. But I want to, if I can, piggyback off something that you said about Mississippi and us being a small state among other states. The reality of it is, you're right about that. People don't realize how prevalent it is in Mississippi because guess what? As of right now, as of today, Mississippi is the leading state out of all 50 states for human trafficking. We are number one with a 6.38% of human trafficking. And one thing I want to point out, when you mention human trafficking, a lot of people think the first thing that go to their mind is sex trafficking, right? People being
Right.
sex trafficked, but it's more to human trafficking. Just that you have labor trafficking, you have sex trafficking, and you have organ trafficking. It's three different traffickings that you have. So when you think about human trafficking, you can't just be in a box thinking about it's just sex trafficking. It's other components to that. And high college students, they are at a higher rate because why? They transitioning from high school. A lot of them leaving home, right? And they going into a new environment. And the first thing we thinking about going to get our education, maybe meeting new
Mhm.
people, partying, having a different experience in the college life. But we're not thinking about the people that we're connecting to. And the number one recruit for human trafficking is what? Somebody that you know, somebody that you trust, and it's called a grooming stage. So what do
Mhm.
they do? They first identify their victim, right? Once that
Yeah.
victim is identified, then trust come into play. We build these relationships, whether it's a friendship with a girl, a relationship with a guy, because girls do recruit for boyfriends, uncles, people that they're connected to. So you have to be mindful of the relationship. So college students, a lot of them, what they want to do, we want to make money. I got to make money to get my basic needs so I
Right.
can survive in college. So a lot of times getting jobs, they don't realize that trying to apply for jobs, certain jobs that they going into, it's a scandal. And so you have to
Mhm.
be very mindful of that. And if I can think back with my nephew, he was so adamant about, he was in college, he was so adamant about getting a job, right? And so at that point, they was going around putting little flyers on cars, trying to recruit people to go out and sell things. And so he brought it to me. He said, TT, I'm gonna call these people about this job. And I was like, let me see that. So they gave him an address somewhere off of Lakeland. And me being me, I Googled the address. I'm like, I don't even know where this is, but I told him, you better not go, but that could have very well been a situation where somebody could have kidnapped him and got him involved with human trafficking. Because guess what? Males are not exempt.
Right.
Males are not exempt.
Right.
Your
Mhm.
stature, your financial stature, your home, two parent household children are not exempt. Everybody can be trafficked, and that's what people don't understand. It don't matter the background that you come from. You
Mhm.
still vulnerable for being trafficked.
Hey, Dr. Cabot, even just to dive into that a little bit more, I remember one time you had told us, and I don't want to call them wrong, so I'll just ask it like this. To your knowledge, what's the youngest and the eldest individual age that you know have been trafficked?
A,
Trafficked,
th-
yeah,
a 3-month-old baby.
3-month-old baby.
Yeah, a
Mm.
child.
And then
Yes.
one time I
And,
thought you
and
had told six
older,
months, but
yes.
3 months, that's just sick. That's horrible.
And the
Yeah.
oldest was like 87. It was a older. It was a mother, actually. Sons trafficking their mother, elderly mother. They were on drugs. Yes. So
And you
80
said
to
sons
90.
trafficking their mother.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Unheard of. What was that
So
age again?
3 months and
It's
87 years old.
87.
Yeah.
My
And
God.
so
Wow.
something to when I speak to college students about it, some things that I bring to their attention is, have always have some type of identification on you, whether it's your a school ID or either your license or ID card, have some type of identification on you. I even preach that to my youth. If you're 16 and up, by law, you are required to have an ID on you, have
Mm,
some type of identification, have a relationship with people that you trust, your best friend, your parents, share your location, have safety words to let people know if I'm okay or not. Well, one of the words that me and my friends use when we got in summer, cold red. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
your fixed
Right.
cold red, have some kind of safety word. And one thing that we don't do that's very important, trust your judgment. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
know when something is not right. Trust your judgment. And as well as make sure you're checking your surroundings because at one point people was leaving things on cars. People was
Mm-hmm.
passing out cards with scents on them that would knock people out or make them nauseated and things of that nature. So be mindful about what you're taking from people. Everything that look good is not good. Everything that sounds good is not good. And so some as college students, they're so vulnerable. You know,
Yeah.
they're
You
so
know, you talked about the
sensitive.
cards with the
Right.
scents. And what I kind of thought about was I remember when I was in college, and whenever we got ready to like go out to parties and stuff like that, and yeah, we was clubbing, but we would always get the club flyers from people. Like they were always passing out those. Is that something that they should kind of be a little bit more mindful on, like accepting?
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
You never know if you're out. My mom always used to tell me, never, if you leave a drink, leave it there. Don't
Yeah.
never leave a
Right.
drink and come
Definitely.
back to it. Because guess what? Date rape drugs.
Right.
And
Hmm.
that's a way that a lot of people get lured into it too because they end up getting drugged and they have them making videos of different stuff. Sometimes, most of the time, sexual stuff that they engage in. And guess what? They being blackmailed.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I got this tape. If you don't release, if you don't do this, then I'm
Right.
gonna release that. And a
Ex-
lot of times, guess what? Because of guilt, shame,
Right.
manipulation, all of that, they suck into this life of he owns me, he or she owns me, and I have to do these things. But that goes back to I always tell my parents with minors that I counsel with or I get involved with, you have to have a relationship with your children.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And one thing I tell my own kids, I don't care if somebody tell you they gonna kill me. You still come tell me. Cause guess
That's
what?
right.
They're not gonna do that. But see, if you don't have that relationship to make your kids comfortable enough to come talk to you and tell you any and everything, they're
Mhm.
not gonna tell you, Mom, I was drugged and somebody is blackmailing me and this is what's on the video. Have an
Right.
open relationship and make your children comfortable enough where
Right.
they can come and talk to you because the reality of it is a lot of guilt and shame holds a lot of people in situations that they are in.
Right.
And
Hmm.
that is one of the number one grooming tools that these traffickers use to hold these kids or individuals in a situation. Just think about um in Atlanta, a lot of people go to Atlanta for what? Make music and be a model.
Hmm.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
y'all know a lot of people get
Hmm.
caught
Camera.
in human trafficking because
Entertainment.
they're trying to be a model?
Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Cabot, two things I want to jump back to real quick is one was, something that I've been hearing my entire life, and my mom and grandma used to always give me this story with it. It's like when you said, if you leave your drink, don't come back and drink it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real thing. That happened to something that my family knew at a club in Pontiac, and he was like messed up for life. Whatever they put in his drink, he was a pretty well-to-do guy, and it messed him up for I don't want to say for life because I've been away for a while, but for years. But
Mm-hmm.
going back to show people how real that is. Tell you remember when our daughter went out to eat when Nuke and
Oh yeah.
Courtney went out to eat. I think it was Chili's Tibby, and when they came out, it was a random just fitted cap sitting beside one of their cars. Like it was a hat, right, Tay?
Yeah, it was a
Like,
fit
and they
ad.
both looked at, they was both like, that wasn't there. And a person might be like, oh man, that's a dope hat. It look new. Maybe I can go home and clean it. But even it's danger in picking up that hat, thinking that you might can wash it and have it for later, because you don't know what's gonna be on your fingertips. And you drive a few miles out the road up the road and get sleepy, and
Mm-hmm.
you pull over and somebody pull over with you. So things as
Yeah.
simple as that can be dangerous. This is something that really happened to that our child witnessed, and I'm glad that they was wise enough to
Mm-hmm.
not pick that up. Cause guess what? We can buy a hat. Leave
That's
the hat.
right. And one
And
thing
you know,
about it, they both felt like it was something suspicious about it because it didn't look like somebody had just the wind had blew it. They said it looked like somebody had placed it there because it was sitting so perfectly.
Right.
So
mhm.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's where forms like this, podcasts like this come into play because you educate. people because at one time, they probably still doing it. They would leave like a string or something on your car to identify this is the person that
Mm-hmm.
you can get or whatever. And so one thing that I tell people, if you see that, then you drive to the nearest police station or
Right.
somewhere where safety because
Right.
somebody is trailing behind you trying to follow you because
Right.
they
Yeah.
have followed you to make you a target, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
they see you alone. And now, if you're anything like me, when I'm in my car, I'm playing my music and I'm having a whole concert.
Uh,
You're
right.
Yeah.
not paying attention. You know, you have to
Yeah.
pay attention to those
Right.
things. So
Mm-hmm.
if
Because
you,
they're paying attention to you.
Right.
yes, if you
And
see something out of order, you have to make.
right.
You don't pull up and say, "Oh, what's that on my car?" No, you get to safety. Safety should
Right.
be the first mindset. But it's podcasts and forums like this to be able to educate people and let people know what to look for and what to do.
And I heard you mention that string, Tibby. I think I've even heard mention it might be a white mark on your passenger side back tire. You don't even look at that back tire because you're going to the driver's side more than
Hmm.
likely. But it's the simplest little things they do to let everybody know, there's somebody you might be able to grab in a minute.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's something else I did kind of read about that marking that you mentioned, DeMarco. It was like somebody mentioned that they had some type of marking on their car or on their tire, and by the time they got up the road, their tire went down, it went flat, and it was a one specific vehicle that had been trailing them, and that's who pulled behind them to try to help them. And instead of pulling over, they decided to go ahead and exit to a gas station. And they noticed that that same vehicle was still following them. So I think those are things that we really have to be mindful of. And it was something else that you pointed out. You said that there's certain targets that they have. What are some of those targets? Like who in specific would be like a perfect target for human trafficking?
I am glad you said.
Let me hear.
A lot of times, the most vulnerable people that they target are people with mental health issues, right?
Mhm.
People with financial issues, people with substance abuse, people that have unstable housing, runaways and homeless youth. They are at a higher risk because guess what? I got to meet my basic needs. I don't have nobody. And so, again, when you think about that grooming phase, that number one stage is what? Identifying the target. So, let's go back to the mental health component of it, right?
Okay.
I'm going to use this example. I have this young kid that I counsel with, right? And so she said something so profound to me that I literally wanted to cry. Come from a two-parent household, you would think the family's all together, right? One
Mm-hmm.
thing she told me, she said, it's not a white picket fence like everything people think it is. And I said, well, you have both parents. But guess what she told me? Yeah, I have both parents, but they're not parents.
Mm.
Uh,
Wow.
And
uh,
I said, can you explain that? She said, it's easy to have two parents in a household, but if you have other siblings, they working all the time. You the one doing homework. You the one cooking. Nobody is telling you they love you. You out. You feel like you out to fend for yourself. They might as well just put me in a little apartment and let me live by myself. They not there for me. So when I'm telling this story to you, what vulnerabilities do you hear that make
Yeah.
her an easy
uh,
target for somebody to
uh,
come in and switch her out for
one is
One.
attention. She looking for somebody to say,
Yeah.
"I love you." Somebody,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
food?
Yeah.
somebody to fill that gap or that void that's there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Tell her
that
those missing
so
things and
profound
she
to me.
lonely.
Right.
Yes, that was so profound to me, and I had to do a self check of myself. Like, okay, am
Yeah.
I parenting or being a parent? Because me working with my individuals, it helps me self reflect on myself as a parent. Because kids, when you listen to kids, they're gonna tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But we in our generation growing up, I can speak for myself. One thing they always say, stay in a child's place.
Mm-hmm.
Or they make you feel like you don't have a voice. No, listen to what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to shut our kids down, but we living in the times where we can't do this because guess what? See, I tell my parents to 8 hours, we're not with our children. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody are not raising their children like we're raising ours. So if look Kim come and telling my daughter something she don't know nothing about it, my daughter come home and try to talk to me, and I say, well, y'all ain't got no business telling talking about that kind of stuff. Guess what? My daughter's gonna be more interested in what Kim got to say because mama ain't trying to explain it to her. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is sometimes you have to have those hard conversations with your
Mm-hmm.
children because times has changed and people use those vulnerabilities, those conversations to get our kids. Because guess what? They're gonna be interested. But if
Yeah.
you come to mom and you tell mom, and mom say, "Baby, I don't know what the Kim and her parents got going on, but that's not the right way. This is what you need to do. This is how this is done." Or explain it to them, give them a different positive perspective, and your child is less likely to engage in some of the things that children are engaging in now. Because if you look on the news, our kids going to jail for robbery, killing. Children are coming up missing every other day. It's so much stuff. But
Yeah.
where do you think all this stuff coming from?
Yeah.
Because guess
Yeah.
what? Our school teachers and coaches are not exempt either.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
They're
Yeah.
not, and that's the reality of it. But that's the stuff that our communities don't want to talk about. Because just the other day in Whitehaven, Florida, they had this thing called Operation March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers, coaches, medical professionals, military, all of those was arrested, and children was rescued with human trafficking.
Wow.
So people that we're trusting our children with, they're not exempt. So what are you saying, Dr. Kathy? It starts at home. We gotta educate our children and make our children feel safe at home.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I wanted to kind of point out something in the comments. Dr. Ridley said, or sometimes you may have a two-parent household and one parent isn't there. And I thought that was really, really powerful because sometimes you may have a mother and father in the household, but it could be the mother or father that's kind of checking out and they might come home, on the weekends, but they ain't there through the week or vice versa. And sometimes that absent parent not being there, they're seeking that one that's absent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they might start seeking that if the dad isn't there, they might start seeking that in a coach
Attention.
that knows those vulnerabilities and they might take advantage of them. They instantly become a target. Would you agree with that?
And
Of
before you
course.
add, I want to slide in, like you
Yeah.
said, a coach or a male teacher, just whatever that
Yeah.
male figure is. It could be in the
Yeah.
community. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess
Yeah.
what? People who are close to you and family members are 33% of recruitment of human trafficking. They are
Mm.
the number one recruit at 33%. 28% is intimate partner, and 22% is your employee.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your
So
employee.
just that's all the environments that we're in. Just imagine us placing our children in these environments. You get a 16-year-old want to work. We don't know who we placing our children in the hand of to get a job and what they're doing to them. So educating them, talking to them, letting them know, what's going on. And males are at a higher rate with labor trafficking versus females. Females are more so on the sex trafficking side, but
Mm-hmm.
you still have some males that get sexually abused too by their coaches. Because guess what? They so adamant about, I want to be an NBA player, I want to be an NFL player, and so these coaches develop that relationship, and they fighting demons themselves and taking it out on our children.
Yeah.
Watch this. I
Yeah.
just want to, just because of the timing of this podcast, we know no arrests have been made, but just looking at those people that like you say, are in particular positions or whatever, the teacher, the coach or whatever. Just the timing of this podcast, like I said, we know no arrests have been made, but the accusations that have been made against Entertainment Mogul,
Mm.
Puff Daddy, we know that his house was just raided, and that's one of the things that came up. So it's those people. No, normally when you have notoriety or people look up to you, things of that nature, it's kind of easier to snatch somebody attention because of your position.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think also just looking at another one of the comments, just talking about the parents, putting so much responsibility on the children to raise, be more so like that person that's rearing and raising their younger siblings or those siblings that may have a disability or something of that nature, sometimes that takes away from their childhood, and they're seeking, an outlet so that they can actually get an opportunity to be a child, and enjoy the life that a child should be having. And sometimes you may have those people, like you mentioned, Atlanta and some of the other areas, even trying to get to California. Sometimes people see those opportunities as outlets, like this is my way of escape. And you mentioned your nephew earlier and how somebody was, trying to get him into the entertainment business, and everything sounded so good. And I've heard other teenagers talk about, opportunities to act and to model. And sometimes when you're in those vulnerable situations where you feel like, in the house, I'm not able to be that young person and enjoy life like I'm supposed to. So this is an outlet, and they're telling me I'm able to model. I can come out here and I can act. And then, but in those situations, we've already seen, looking at some of the big kids type of entertainment with the Disneys and the, Nickelodeons and all that. We see what's going on right now, and we know that it's times where they're ready for the children to come out and be by themselves, to the point where they tell the parents, we got them, y'all can go on and leave. You're not allowed to be back here. We got them, so you go home, we'll bring them home. And they're basically raising our kids for us, because we're so caught up in, this is going to be our big break. This is going to be our opportunity to make money, not knowing that you're selling your child really into
Right,
the hands of the devil. You know
right.
what I'm saying?
And one thing I wanted to make sure that I covered and I spoke about is the influence of social media. These kids are so prone to these phones and these social media outlets that they don't realize how they are making themselves a target on these websites. And
Mm-hmm.
Facebook is the number three with leading with recruitment. So just think about going back to that vulnerable child that has to do everything. Well, her downtime, what's she doing? She getting on social
Mm-hmm.
media, which
Yes.
makes her vulnerable to whoever jumping in her inbox. Oh, you beautiful. And sometimes
Yes.
I tell people all the time, you don't know who you talking to. It
Yeah.
could be a
Mm-hmm.
face of a 15-year-old, but you talking to a 50-year-old man. It's gonna
Right.
cause you to sneak out the house and all type of stuff.
Yeah,
But
get
it's that
fish.
attention that you are longing for that he's
Right.
giving you.
Right.
And you become vulnerable to it.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah,
lot of times, a lot of kids that come up missing, the number one source is what? Social media.
it
So we have
is.
to be mindful of the connections that our children are connecting through these social media websites. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, and
Yeah.
y'all know this is my passion. This is my my love for educating people about human
Right.
trafficking. It's so much I want to say that but I know our time is limited. But that is one of the main things that I wanted to point out. And I went and I got some stats on some things, but those who are watching, if y'all go to the Polaris Project, the recent year is 2021. And you'll see number one, Mississippi is number one with human trafficking out of all 50 states. And our leading targets are minors. It's
Mm.
minors in Mississippi. So do the work, educate yourself, go to these events that's trying to educate you about human trafficking, because guess what? It is real in Mississippi.
Mm.
There's no certain person that can't, they will get a 50-year-old if they have, they will get me. Learn self-defense tools, but when you got somebody trying to attack
Yes.
you,
Right.
that's important. Letting somebody know where you going, where you at, your location is important. Put things into place that's going to keep you safe, keep your family safe. Because guess what? A lot of times they blackmail these children. Well, I got your address. I can go get your mama. I get your little sister. So that makes them vulnerable to do whatever the person trying to get them to do. So you got to just be mindful of the small things.
Right.
Be
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
and Dr. Cavett, I want to put a little sticky note right there because a lot of times when it comes to Mississippi, we feel like we're safe. We don't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about this. And for me, I knew human trafficking it was a thing and it existed, but for me, you're really the first person to ever kind of spotlight that for me. Like we say, you do have a passion and you do have a passion for this. And of course, when you was learning, you was educating us. And one of the two things that I remember is there was a situation in Clinton one time. We don't have to speak to the specifics, but I kind of remember you telling me about a situation in Clinton. But to think that this don't hit us, I remember you educating us that this was real big in our area, and it was like a hub. Why? Because I-20 and I-55 cross right in Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an easy way. If you grab somebody in Jackson, you can jump on a highway and you can
Hmm.
instantly go four different directions.
Exactly.
You can Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, with Louisiana towards New Orleans and towards Shreveport. But Jackson, Mississippi it's a lot of escape routes.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
We are known as the hub. We're the
Yeah.
hub
Hub.
because we're connected to 55. We connected to 20, 220. So all we got to do, we ain't that big, so we jump on the interstate, we gone.
Right.
Hmm.
Either way. So we are known. Mississippi is known as the hub for I-20, 55, I-10 on the coast, and
Mhm.
so our interstate connections, they drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up.
Mhm.
Yeah, we are
Mhm.
known. That's what we're known for, the hub.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. I have a recent situation with this young lady. I can't give too many specifics, but one thing is, I would just say that young ladies or young men that are not very sociable,
Hmm.
don't have a lot of friends, but talk to a lot of people, maybe like on social media, and platforms or things of that nature. Um, and then all of a sudden decides to just leave home, no problems or issues at home, just leave home because they started talking to a new friend, and has just moved away in the
Hmm.
prime of their life, and just moved away. um, what happens when it appears that a young person has willfully and voluntarily left, but you know that everything sounds, and I'm trying not to give too much information, but things, you know that something isn't right because they wasn't having any issues at home, no issues at school, but they've been talking on social media, online, on like maybe a dating platform or something, and they just completely just cut communication off with their family, um, talk to law enforcement and confirm that they were good, but didn't really want to communicate, with family at all. Does that sound suspicious?
That is a very high risk case, and unfortunately, cases are case by case basis, right? So we don't. That goes where that coercion, that fraud, that force. We don't know what it is that they may be presenting to this particular individual to make her
Hmm.
fear. If you speak or you say something, you're gonna be dead, or
Yeah,
your family. Because let's be real. How have y'all ever paid attention to the news and they say, well, this individual, they'll be looking for somebody, and when they find that person is dead. Well, you
yeah.
became a high target for this operation that we got. Think back what I
Wow.
just said earlier. Just this month in March, Florida had an operation ring that had teachers, coaches, medical staff, and active military, right? So if you become a target for us, you gotta go.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
we ain't putting you back on the street to go home.
Hmm.
You got to go, meaning you gotta die.
Right.
Because the
Hmm.
operation is bigger than
You
what
know
we
too
see.
much. You know
Yeah.
too much.
It's been
Hmm.
overseas. Just in November of 2023, Mississippi had Operation Blue Christmas, where they arrested like 6 people that was trafficking individuals. So if you're not into it or you're really not aware, you're not gonna know all these things because a lot of stuff they really don't put on the news because they don't want to scare people. But people need to know what's going on in our communities. People need to know how we need to protect ourselves, how we need to protect our children. We're not exempt. Our children are
Yeah.
not.
You
Right.
know, and it's
Is
sad.
there? I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, babe. The thought that just hit my mind. You know, our last episode was kind of talking about just roots, Kuta Kente, things of that nature. But what really hit my mind was, you know, and I know this is just not black African American people at all by far, But when you think about when you see African American people pop up in these type of circles and their names called for doing this, it's like, bruh, it's we were enslaved. So you doing the same thing to people. Like, you have a problem with where our the truth of our history, but you doing the same thing, and then you doing it for sexual activities. And like you were telling us, Dr. Cabot, 3 months old, 87 years old, man. Like, but we know, and I think you're going to get into this before we end. There is like a I know you talked about cons, but maybe a mental health side to it too. We know that everybody some people are dealing with something, but it's just kind of disturbing to me to know people really out here doing this.
But guess
Yeah.
what? You made a valid point. But guess what? If you can be on the job and you making what's minimum wage? Is it $10 an hour, $8 an hour now? You making eight to
Might
ten
be
dollars
still
an hour.
seven something. I don't know.
But you could put somebody on the street and you getting anywhere from a
Yeah,
thousand to 5,000 a
right,
day. Come on.
right,
What sales? What they say
right.
sales, right?
It do,
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
way than one.
Yeah, and then we didn't talk a lot about the organ trafficking, but you have people that come up missing, and then when they find they deceased and they organ missing, you have these rich people that have family members that sick that need heart or something like a kidney, and they killing these people. They have the underground operation that have doctors and everything that they paying millions to operate on these people, take the organs and put it into their family. Just think, what was that movie? Get Out.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That was the
Yeah.
perfect example of how organ trafficking operate.
Mhm.
And people don't believe this stuff is real, but it's real. It's our
Yeah.
reality.
Right. Even with you
Yeah.
saying that, talking about Get Out, Dr. Ridley mentioned that Taken was a good movie to watch. But just last week, and we kind of talked about this in a men's fellowship at church, but I just found out last week that literally the Pentagon has a department of films, a department of films. We'll put it like that. It might be Department of Hollywood, but the Pentagon has a department and a budget to work with Hollywood to sell us certain propaganda.
Mm,
So it's like, so DC is helping Hollywood make films to push narratives for us. So you don't really know who in or what. It's just a crazy world we live in, and we really have to be careful, focused, and intentional, and very particular. Because
mhm.
what look good, we've been taught this as the kids. Everything that look good ain't good.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
and
got
and
that
she, Dr. Ridley, also mentioned something about hearts, and that was the other thing I was going to mention. There's a movie that we watched on Netflix,
Oh yeah,
and it was something dealing with
it was.
heart, them stealing organs from people, period. And I just remember this lady being killed so that they could steal her heart to give it to this guy that was connected politically and everything for his wife.
Mm,
And it just turned into a big chaos. I can't remember the movie, but it's really a good movie to watch. And I was going to make the point, when you see these movies like Taken and different things like that, they're not just made up because somebody is just has a big creative mind and they've come up with this, fake information. Like, it's coming from something that's real, and
Right.
they're throwing out these clues and everything to us, letting us know, this is what's really going on around us. And we think being in a small state like Mississippi, or like Arkansas and different other little small states, is not happening because we're so deep down south and we're not connected directly to Hollywood and everything. But you got to think about, lately there's been a lot of movies being filmed right here in Mississippi,
Mhm.
mhm.
and that's something to really kind of put on your mind, like, who's coming with these, the film production teams and all these other people. Because in our mind, it's like, let me get down there to the set, this might be my big opportunity. But you got to be really, really careful.
Right.
And we also have to be careful when we're looking at these celebrities and musicians and different singers, rappers, or whatever, that are, we're fans of. and just defending them in certain situations, because we don't know what's all going on. And you could very well be defending a pedophile, defending somebody that might be, targeting your child, so we have to really, really be careful and to not speak on things that we really have no knowledge
Right.
of,
We,
and instead educate ourselves on these warning signs and who to stay away from.
right.
Right.
We definitely on the outside looking in. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
but
very minimal information.
just because
yeah,
you're not staying off Terry Road and you staying in these nice neighborhoods, you're not exempt.
Hmm.
that's
It goes
right.
on there too, you know. So
Hmm.
it's no particular area, it's no
Right.
particular person.
Right.
You
Yeah.
And with the recent news that we've already discussed with P. Diddy, just kind of talking about Dr. Ridley said that our kids look up to rappers and movie stars and Hollywood isn't good at all. And that's the fact. I was watching, I think it was Uncle Luke. He was talking about, when you get to a lot of these people in notoriety, these movie stars, the certain rappers has got a lot of money, honestly, and you look at it clearly, no morals at the end of the day. They have so much money in some cases that they feel like they can buy their way out of things. They
Mhm.
feel like, what you gonna do to me? I just picked you up from the hood. Your parents don't even know where you at. Don't may not even care where you at. And I'm
Mhm.
a millionaire, so I can do what I want to do to you.
Mhm.
And that's just the mentality of some of them. They just don't care.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
And,
because we have Hollywood and political figures and everything. They're owned by
mhm, right.
certain people, and that's not all. I don't want it to be
Yeah, it's not
misconstrued, but a lot of them are owned by these people. If I put this money behind you, that means when you get in place,
right.
this is what you got to do. We run this. You're just that figure, that
Yeah,
facial person that's in the seat, but
right.
we run that seat, and
Yeah.
you do what we tell you to do. You do as you're told.
And how you think you gonna flip on me? I made you. So
Right.
Right,
it's power. Yeah,
exactly.
it's those power struggles. It's those people that have the influence. Then it's those people that you may not even know that had the influence to give them the influence. So it's a lot going on at the top. It's a lot.
Right. Yeah, because they've been sold. So once you've been sold, you do as you're told.
Mhm.
You don't have no power on your own movement and being.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Doctor
And
really
and I had
said.
we have one they asked if you would repeat the age for the youngest and oldest age for sex trafficking.
3 month old infant and an 87-year-old woman. And keep in mind, these were victims that was victimized by family members.
Mm, mm, mm.
And yeah, just to add to what she said, I think you said, Dr. Cav, that 87-year-old, her was it her son?
Her sons,
Her son sold her into human trafficking.
yeah, they were
Oh,
drug addicts.
I think it's a special place in hell
Yeah.
for people like for real.
oh yeah.
And that's why it's important to check on our elderly because they are victimized not only by sex trafficking, but people take advantage of them financially, and we don't realize these things till it's too late. And so
Hmm.
it's very important that we check on our elderly. And nothing against the state of Mississippi, but I think it's only maybe like 4 or 5 workers that cover the whole state that go out and check on what is it, the liaisons. And so is
Hmm.
that enough? Just think about the
No.
number of elderly we have versus 5 people that if you get a report on these elderly have to go out and check. Is that enough? So that's where the community and family members have to step up and check on these people. Because
Yeah.
people, like Dr. Ridley said, people use fear to control. And our elderly are so vulnerable. They're vulnerable to trust people. They're vulnerable if they're afraid of you. They just going they just trying to live and maintain. So what they gonna do? They gonna give in.
Mhm.
Especially when they
Yeah.
don't have nobody advocating for you.
Right.
So I just wanted to, point that out.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That's all been good information. Is there anything else that you want to add? We do want let's pause here real quick to make sure you people may have questions, may have information. You also own a counseling and consulting business. Throw out your information, contact information before we forget, because I definitely don't want to forget that.
Hmm.
Yes, I am the owner of a New You Counseling and Consulting. I do individual counseling with children starting at the age of 13 and up. I also do adult counseling. I do family counseling, and I do group counseling. I also do consultant with different things. Just depends. The address is 405 Briarwood Drive, Suite 108R, Jackson, Mississippi 39206, and my contact number is 601-502-6794. You can find me on Facebook, a new you counseling and consultant. The same thing with Instagram. Also, I have a website. You can Google a new you counseling consultant, and Dr. Kathy gonna pop up.
All right. And just to add to that, if you're ever riding in the metropolitan Jackson area and you see a lady on the side of the road picking up a stray cat or helping out a less fortunate person, if they resemble Dr. Cavett, it's probably her because she'll pick up
Yeah,
anybody and get them to safety.
she
Yeah,
will.
I'll pull
She
up on
will.
two wheels and a black Lexus if
And
they.
And
will.
and she'll chase them down if they won't get in the car with her.
Right. Dr. Really said she's proud of you, Dr. Cavett.
Thank you, Dr. Ridley. Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know I
this
love my people now. I don't discriminate.
at all. Yeah, I can remember times when just you on your own, even before you had your business, when you would put little goodie bags together with feminine products and hygiene products, and you would go down and just pass it out to the homeless. And
Yeah.
you still do things even now. So, I definitely just kind of advise anybody that's seeking any type of counseling or therapy to reach out to Dr. Cavett, because this is something that she's definitely passionate about, and she's real, and she's going to keep it real. And this is something that she was doing before she even had a New You counseling and consultant. So she was doing it, pro bono. And still sometimes it's out there in the streets, doing what she can for people. So she goes over and beyond. So I definitely just, advise you guys to just check her out, tap in and just contact her if you're needing any type of counseling or even any type of consultant. But before we leave, I just wanted to make sure that if there was any type of information or any type of situation or something that you really wanted people to know before we got off, that you had the opportunity to kind of share with them.
Well, one thing, I think this was a great podcast to educate people about human trafficking. And I just want to encourage people that if you are feeling some type of way, you feel yourself off, you're not yourself who you are, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to seek help, because I tell people all the time, you have a lot of people that don't believe in counseling, but I said, God anoint counselors, because I feel like
Hmm.
this is my ministry, and it
Yeah.
is a Christian counsel. My counseling is based off Christian principles, so it's okay not to be okay. Everybody needs somebody, and the more you go without making sure that you're mental okay, you begin to break down in other areas as well as our safety. I want to make sure that we gave you all enough information that you can pour into your children, your family, and other people in a community about human trafficking. Because this is the thing. When I made sure I looked at my numbers, because I like to know my stuff. I'm not going to talk about nothing I don't know about. I revisited my numbers this morning just to make sure I was accurate on everything. And what I seen was an increase, right?
Wow.
And so what I'm saying is it's happening every day. If we turn on the news right now, it may not be in this area, but it's in another area where somebody probably is missing.
Hmm.
That's important. So use the tools that we have given you on this podcast to put in place. Make you a safety plan. I tell everybody, get you a safety plan in place. And what that includes, somebody that you can contact if something happens to you, a safety place that you can go to. If something is out the ordinary at your house, share your location with somebody. Put you a safety plan in place where you know that you are okay.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
that's good. I was going to add too, you mentioned earlier about sharing your location with people, I think it will also be a good idea to use those air tags. Is that what you call them? Just
Yes.
because people, it's likely that someone would try to, discard your cell phone, but using those air tags in random places so that you can always kind of be located when you can't be located.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
I want to put this up to Dr. Really always said that one resource you always can have is the National Human Trafficking Resource Center. That phone number is 1-888-373-7888, or you can simply text. Look at that. You can text Be Free, and that's 233-733. Thanks for that, Dr. Really.
Thank you, Dr. Ridley. And I
Yeah.
also do speaking engagements too if y'all need a speaker to come in.
Yeah. Contact her to come out and get even more in depth with this human trafficking, because there's so much information that I know she didn't share just because of the time. But
And that
yeah.
includes community events, churches. If you all are
Hmm.
having something, you can let her come out. As you see, she told us the victims have been from 3 months to 87 years old. So whether it's a youth event or adult event, she'll have content that can really educate anybody. And Dr. Cabot, before we tap out of here, one thing I just wanted to encourage you on is, and I heard you say that you feel like this is your ministry. It's definitely your ministry, Dr. Cabot. We heard Bishop Trailer say, I think it was at Bible class. He recently said that until you have a burden for people. No, before you take a pulpit, before you pick up a microphone, have a burden for people. And your burden for people is something that don't just come out of your mouth. We've seen it in your everyday actions since we know you. So we appreciate you for that. And it's definitely your ministry.
Thank you.
Most
Thank
definitely. Yeah, we definitely appreciate you taking out time early on a Saturday morning to join us and to just share this information out. And we appreciate everyone that has actually stuck here the whole time and listened to this information because it's so important. I've seen our kids on and both of our parents, have joined in along with other people. So we appreciate you guys so much for just joining and sticking it out with us this morning.
you. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, if that's it, this has been another episode of Facts and Feelings with your boy Twice.
And your girl Tay.
And we appreciate you, Dr. Cavett.
I wonder if it's facts or feelings that you feel.